you're not going anywhere.
You played with a young Argentinian Messi. So when you was coming through, you had a good team at Barcelona.
Now you're training with one of the biggest, if not the biggest club in the world, and you have to defend against the guys like Messi. How was it for you? Is it hard?
Messi was 16. I was already 21. Romario was the most confident guy I knew it. So, listen, we will win the World Cup. If we don't win, that's my fault.
If you're the best under 15, it's a whole different world to under 18.
Yeah, 100%.
It doesn't matter. It just keeps going up.
No, and when you wake up, you go to the street, you need to survive, you know. And Del Piero, a legend, I played against and with him. Pelé counts.
Yes, of course.
Yes.
So Pelé.
Yeah,
Hello everyone and welcome to the final episode of Season 2 of Inside Football 365. Today's episode going to be very interesting because we have an exclusive and very interesting guests that came from two different countries. They are from two different niches, but all of us are united with a love to football and with working in this business.
Yeah, this is the final episode. So, as always, this is Inside Football. We brought you one of the best agents we know, one of our new partners who's got an extensive history playing professional football. And hopefully with that, between them, we can share some stories of how it is really in this business.
I think, Ryan, please introduce yourself first.
Yes, I'm Ryan Badu. I'm the club agent for TFA EPC Dubai. I've been an agent for over a decade. I've been involved in over 100 transfers and very, very active in multiple markets throughout my years as well. So hopefully I can share some of that experience with the guys today.
Great.
Very good, Ryan. So I'm Tiago Calvano, a former professional player. I played almost 18 years as a pro. I'm from Brazil. Should I?
Yes, whatever you feel comfortable.
So you need some time here.
Yeah.
I played a couple teams.
Go ahead.
But yeah, so I started my career in Brazil. I'm from Rio de Janeiro. I play for Botafogo in Brazil. That's the only club that I played from U15 until the pro. So I played 2 years with the first team. Then I moved to AC Perugia in Italy. Back in the day, it was a Serie A club. I played 1 season there, and then I transferred to one of the biggest clubs in the world. I played for the Barcelona B. A couple games with the first team. I spent 2 years in Barcelona. Then I moved to Young Boys Bern in Switzerland. Spent 3 years there. And then I went to Germany. I played for MSV Duisburg 2 years, then another year in Fortuna Düsseldorf. Then I was getting tired for the cold, like almost 10 years in Europe. I decided to make a big move. I went all the way to Australia, spent 3 seasons in Australia, and then I received an offer from Minnesota United. So I went to the United States, played 3.5 for Minnesota, and another 2 for Harrisburg in Pennsylvania in the 2nd division. It was the professional team from Capelli and Rush Soccer. And now I'm here. So I retired in 2018, start the project, what we'll be talking a little bit about the Rush. And yeah.
So we have a player that's been in 4 continents.
Yes.
And speak 6 languages. Yeah.
That's true. Yeah.
You missed out on Africa, that was all.
Yeah, but I visit recently through our project, and yeah.
Okay, great. I mean, this is the whole idea. Today we're going to talk about a few stories and then a few call to action. So we got an agent of 20 years, a player of 18 years, and now you're involved in scouting and developing of players. This program is... Sorry, you want to say something?
No.
I thought you said something. This program is really for the players inside football. So if we can start with you, Agent Ryan. Sounds good. What is the market like today for young footballers?
It's very tough for young players because that transition between being a good player at 18 and actually being a professional player and having a long career and retiring like Tiago has done is very difficult. In England, they've recognised that and they've brought in the under 23 football because that sort of gap between 18 and 23, we lose a lot of players. A lot of the big talents, they struggle to transition from youth football into first team professionals as well. There's many different reasons why. In Greece, where I'm currently living, they've brought in the B team. So the big clubs like AK Athens, Olympiakos, Panathinaikos, PAOK, they now have B teams because they know that the players coming straight out of the academy need something, and the B teams play in the 2nd division. So what I'm seeing now is it's so important for young players to actually get experience after they graduate from being a professional. Otherwise, they come out of the game, because what nobody wants is a guy who is unproven and hasn't proven itself at the highest level. So because of how football is changing, we're seeing that a lot of clubs are paying a little bit more attention to developing the players just from having the skill set to actually being able to be a professional. And I'm sure that Tiago can elaborate on that, but they're completely different things, because it's a job. And a lot of players don't get that. Sometimes I need to go and play in the 4th division on loan to get the experience, to make me more relevant, to give me a better chance to be a professional player as well.
That's a great point you made there.
Yeah.
That they go from playing for fun to becoming a job.
Yeah, and a lot of players from big clubs, we find it that, you've come through a big club, you play a certain system and they believe that that's the way that football should be played. But you might go to a team and they're playing for relegation and they have to play more direct, and people can't get their heads around that. It's a job. You've got to go and deliver. It's a results business. So that's what I'm seeing with a lot of the changes in youth football at the moment. A lot of the players need to now, that gap between 18 and 23 is so crucial that you learn what you are and you deliver on the pitch.
For you, Tiago, when you was in Botafogo, when you was just starting this moment of transition from playing like a youth football to a professional, and Brazil is crazy full of talents, and you made it to one of the biggest team in Brazil. How was it for you? How you handled that when you just started your career?
In Brazil, pressure is every day. Like, doesn't matter if you are 15. Obviously, you cannot compare youth football with the first team, but you have to prove to yourself and to the coach in every single session. So you wake up and it's like you go to the war, because if I don't perform well today in training, someone will take my spot. It's hundreds of kids that want to be in your spot. So you need to deal with that pressure every day. Obviously, when you go to the first team, you have another 60, 70,000 people looking at you on that time. I remember my first game in with the first team for Botafogo in Maracanã. It was amazing. Wow. So that's the difference, how the players can handle the pressure. So that makes the difference. Sometimes the player is not that good, but he doesn't feel the pressure. So he steps on the field and he just performs. Some other players are more talented, but when they see some crowd, they start to shaking and then they don't perform well. Those little things, for me, the mentality, the strength, mental strength is one of the biggest part of the game. And that's where the big players, they show.
How did you handle it? How did you handle that pressure?
On that time, I wasn't that responsible. So I only cared to play and have fun. Uh-huh. So that helps me a lot. And I can tell I was very strong mentally. Yeah. And I want to have fun, play, and enjoy the moment. So I performed well. The coach liked after that game. I was lucky. Injuries happen in football. So I started on the bench, and then one guy that was a big name in Botafogo playing my position, he was getting old and he got injured. So I jumped on the field on the first halftime, and then things happened. So lucky I was prepared, and I jumped on the bus. I didn't let the bus pass on.
Lucky meets prepared meets opportunity. Yeah?
I was prepared.
Yeah. What was your age when you debuted on
19.
Maracanã? 19.
Yeah.
And how many years ago? What year was it?
Let's do the count.
99?
2000. I'm 81.
2002. Yeah. So 20 years ago. And nowadays, Ryan, I think it's exactly your audience, the players around 19 up to 25 or even maybe 30. And as we can see, Tiago, he debuted in Maracanã, which is absolutely crazy for me because it's the biggest stadium, the main stadium for Brazil.
It was 2001. Yeah.
2001, even more, 22 years ago. So for me, from what I've noticed without being professional in this niche, is that the mentality, the key factor that Tiago mentioned, is lacking in the players nowadays. Because not even the pressure, even the smaller things like competition in a team can, make the player lose his temper. How common is it?
One thing that I would say is the way that we receive information now has changed. So when we was growing up, Tiago, we watch games. we'll wait, we'll watch the games, Sunday, Serie A, watch the whole game, and you would appreciate certain things. Now people just watch YouTube. It's clips, it's 2 minutes. I've seen a player do a skill. Not as many kids, I notice, are going out and playing street football. So that when you play on the street and you put your 10,000 hours in, that's where you actually you get that mastery and you're able to do what Tiago done. When we look at Tiago's career, it's the top percent, because in football, people will say that you've fallen off if you're Ronaldinho, you don't perform at the elite level. But to have the career that he's had, it's testament to obviously his mentality, because it's a big level to go to all those countries and to keep delivering for decades.
I think the point that Tiago made, and this is something we face with our players, because as you guys probably don't know, but Ryan brings most of our players, and we work on taking our players out. And you said something about being ready to battle every day. And that's something we don't see with our new generation. I had a conversation today with a player and his agent. There's an entitlement to them. There is, I'm not supposed to do that. I'm entitled to this. And I would say, says who? Who says you're entitled for this? And who says you deserve this? Do you see that now with the young players we're signing or trying to sign? And
100%. In England, we've got the guys and they're in the academy and they've got the Beats headphones on their head. And they've not made a first team appearance, but maybe they're getting £2,000 a week and they've got the car or finance. They don't own it, but there's a lot of bravado that goes into it. And they haven't made a first team game yet, or they haven't played 10 games, and they think there's something. Every agent's calling them. And until you've played 150 games, you're not a footballer. Do you know what I mean? You're not a footballer until you've actually established yourself at a certain level. But with this sort of lifestyle that comes with football now. Beforehand, the young players were apprentices in England. They were driving Ford Escorts, but they had a bit of notoriety amongst other footballers. Now with social media, someone goes there, they put player for Charlton or something like that. No, you're a youth team player. You're not in Charlton. You're not in Chelsea. Yeah. You haven't made it yet, but they've got the mentality and the entitlement like they've made it, and they expect the trappings that come with the professional players who've actually worked for that.
Yeah. But also I think from Tiago, you're saying entitlement will get rid of that mentality, right?
Of course. Yeah, but it's a different generation, different world. Like in Brazil, if you ask me back in the day when I was 15, Tiago, what do you want? I would say, I want to play for the first team of Botafogo. Now you ask a 13 years old, he will say, I want to play for Real Madrid. So I want to play for Barcelona. It's different. So when they are 17, they come in the locker room with iPhones and they think they are ready. So the lack of little bit respect, before as a young player going to a locker room into the first team, man, you don't know what to do. You don't know if you even say good morning, because maybe they will slap you away. You don't say good morning. So a lot of respect, you don't know how to act. And today they come, they do what they want,
Yeah.
Before they used to tackle us, if you are a young player, want to do something, man, poor of you. In training, you would suffer. But now, if you do something, people will say, oh, it's bullying, it's whatever,
freedom of speech.
Yeah, no, but it's actually interesting. I was watching some of the TikTok videos yesterday, and a lot of the young players now, they want to live the life of a football player, not to do the job of a football player.
They like the idea of it.
Yeah. It's a job.
They see only the benefit, only the good part, which is very minimal. You have today you can play longer, but before used to be 10, 12 years as a pro if you're lucky.
Yes.
And then now, they don't suffer. They don't know how to suffer.
Okay, so as an agent, we've got young players. We talk to players, we recruit players who are national team players, etc. What's the advice we got to give them now? Okay, you're 16, 17, our boy from Senegal. Senegal's come knocking and they've selected you for the national team. What's the advice today?
Be hungry, man. This is the, as a young player, you need to be competitive, because you're in a very competitive industry. If you're not one of the best in the youth team, you're not going to become a professional at Botafogo. So you've got to be one of the best ones. And you've got to keep that attitude when you go into a first team environment, because the moment that you get complacent and you start to go backwards, you'll be out. So for any player, we've got boys here. I was telling Tiago today, England under 16s, Holland under 20, Senegal under 20. Doesn't mean anything. All that matters really is where you are now and what you're doing. Are you ascending? Are you getting forward? And I'll just encourage every player you can never get comfortable until you're established as a professional footballer, and you're always going to get another job. Just take it season to season and just keep working hard, And there's no substitute for that, honestly.
Yeah, it's interesting. Today I was listening to a BBC podcast about this generation because they used to Deliveroo, they used to Amazon. So they're expecting if I order it, it's delivered.
Yeah.
So there's this expectation. You talk to young football players today and you say, okay, I'm going to put you in the reserves. How long for? Well, how long do you need to improve? So this generation is definitely very different. Now you're working with Russia and the US, and you're working with a lot of young players, and we're bringing players from across the world. What do you see out there from the US side?
It's pretty much the same. The world is connected now. Everyone has a phone. They can see what's going on here. People here can see what's going on there. It's the mentality, and it is our job to make them see the reality. They can dream, but on my side, I can tell if you keep doing that, you're not going anywhere. You have to deserve. They like to ask questions. Why I'm in the reserve team? Because you're not performing well. Like you say, until when? Until you perform well, until the coach sees that you are ready to jump on the first team.
Yeah.
So they need to deserve that. They need to understand that what they watch on TV on Sunday, like 90 minutes, that's the bonus of the hard work they made during the week.
Exactly.
They have to see that. The game on Sunday is the bonus.
It's the show.
Is the show, but how you can go to the show and perform, you need to perform every single day.
So, Tiago, I've got a question for you. Sorry.
No, please go ahead.
You played with a young Argentinian Messi. So when you was coming through, you had a good team at Barcelona. You had people like Damia who played for the team. You had other guys like Hidalgo who played in La Liga as well. And then you had Messi. From the outside looking in, was there anything special that he'd done? Or of course he was a talented player, but how did he get to that level?
We are talking about Messi. Football is no math, and things happen too quick. He was a special kid, but I would be lying to you guys if I say, I knew he was going to be the Messi who everyone knows today. He was a very talented boy, very quiet, but on that time he was 16, so not consistent enough, but he used to do things that, wow, this kid is really special. And then he was doing more and more and more. Before, like, he take the ball, doing some crazy things, and then 5 minutes, you don't see Messi. And then after that, boom, again. After like a 6 month, year, he was doing that more consistently, and then he was on the first team. But obviously, he was very talented, and
attitude must have been good though.
He was angry to play. He loved to play, and you can tell at the young age he didn't like to lose. We were doing rondos, and sometimes he got mad, with the experienced players, and some little fights, and he was only 16.
Uh-huh.
But he showed the character.
Yes. Yeah.
So how long was he with you? Because I had a boy from his group in the U19, Alexander. He's now one of the coaches for the Saudi Arabian under-20 national team. And he said that he was there for a few weeks in under-19, and then he went to the B team, and then he went to the first team. He said it was really, really quick for him.
No, look, Barcelona has the C on. I don't know today, but on my time they have the C team.
Yeah, I think that's
they
one,
have
yeah.
the juveniles, which I watched Messi first time playing for the juvenil A, which is the U15, and then he went to Barcelona C. And then the first time we played together was against Porto with the first team. It was Porto made the new stadium, and they invited Barcelona to play the first game. It was a FIFA date. A lot of players from Barcelona on the national team. So Rijkaard called some players from the B team and the C. Messi was one of the C teams, and I was on the B. So we went to the first team. We debuted together. After that game, he came to the B team, and then he stayed like a season with us, but going like to the first team to train. And so I would say he stayed the rest of the season with us on the B team, almost a year. And then the following season, he went to the first team.
Wow, so basically that's like an apprentice, first year apprentice in England, being fast-tracked into the first team of one of the biggest clubs in the world.
Yeah, but Tiago said really probably three important words for me, and that goes to our young players. He had an attitude, he was hungry, and he was competitive. And I think competitive is the word that these boys now are not used to. Like we talked to one of our players last week who had to go down to the reserves. I've been a regular in the first team. And just the fact that he has to drop down and compete is too hard, it's too much. And you cannot do this job, and this is a very key word here, if you're not continuously competing to improve.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. It's exactly. It's a job. And a lot of guys, when they get their head around that, then they understand. And where the manager tells you to do a job, you do a job. And you look at someone like James Milner, Ashley Youngs, they can play everywhere because they're professionals. And a lot of people have to understand that Messi is obviously 1 in a million, but there's a lot of other guys. I think people like in your group, Oleguer, centre back, but done a job at right back and got a career because of it as well. So that sort of mentality of doing what you have to do for the betterment of the team is something that young players need to get their head around a lot as well. And the guys that do that end up they have careers.
For you, Tiago, you was a defender. For our audience, Tiago was a defender, right?
Yes.
And you was training with the Messi and against Messi sometimes. For you as a defender, so you made all the way from the Brazil. Now you're training with one of the biggest, if not the biggest club in the world, and you have to defend against the guys like Messi. How was it for you? Is it hard? Do you feel like, oh, it is good for me because later on it's easier to play against opponents?
No. You have to see that in Barcelona, every single player was very talented. You know, the defenders, they were very good. So everyone was talented. So it was a good competition. And back on that time, Messi was 16. I was already 21. So obviously, I'm not talking, I was easy. No, but on his prime, obviously, how you defend Messi on his prime, I would have to pray. You know, I would pray to myself to have my best day and the worst day on his career, because he was phenomenal. He is phenomenal.
I think that's the polite way of Tiago saying he had him in his pocket most of the days.
Yeah, for a while.
Actually, on that note, because we asked you this question off camera, and you said I had Romario as well as Messi. So let's not just talk about Messi. And you said something great about him, about not having to be effective all the time. I think that's brilliant for young football players.
Yeah. So I know my dad was a friend of Romario. He was my first agent. So we have a.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't. Okay.
Your dad or Romario was your first agent?
No, my dad was a good friend of Romario. I grew up watching Romario playing at Mundo, and we were friends. You know, like family friends. And then I started to grow, and he was my agent. And yeah, we always talked. And one day he was, Tiago, you know. Because Romario was the typical guy that doesn't touch the ball much, but when he scores, it's the winning goal. And he says, Tiago, listen, you don't always have to be important, like every day. But when matters, then is when you show up and score the goal. And that's why people will remember you. On the big moments, you have to believe in yourself and step up. And
so again, it goes back to answer about Messi or Romario. It's the attitude of you as a player. Yeah. I don't care who I'm playing. I do what I have to do my job.
Romario was the most confident guy I knew it. So he would say, listen, tomorrow I'm going to score 2 goals. And that's it. He was there and scoring 2 goals. Wow. And the night before, he was partying, you know.
Wow.
2 hours before the game, he was drinking his Coca-Cola, you know.
Yeah.
He's the typical guy that mentally very strong. When they won the World Cup in '94, he said on camera, listen, we will win the World Cup. If we don't win, that's my fault. Who says that on those days?
Wow.
You know?
So he loved to take pressure on himself.
He handles pressure. We go back to the same thing. Confidence is critical in football, especially with these young players that we work with between 20 and 23. I don't know. I always like to look at it as an ex-coach. Is there something more we can do to teach them? Is there something more we can give them, you know, about the mentality, about that. Yeah. But I think the message of it's a job, and you got to work at your job.
Yeah, 100%. And also you got to stick to your plan as well. There's so many players who are coming through academies, and what I found is the guys who've got the hard path through the academy, maybe they've got a little bit of, a little bit of friction, or they need to fight for their position at the 18s, and then they've got to fight to get into the second team. They build up those muscles of determination of being able to overcome rejection, and then they're able to be a a professional. But a lot of the guys who have the easy route and they're told that they're the best at 16, they're the best at 18, and then they go into the reserve team and then they get told that they don't have enough experience, they've never dealt with the no. And sometimes a lot, I think Wesley Sneijder's a classic example because he was coming up through Ajax and he wasn't good enough, and he got another chance. And then, I think within 6 months he had gone from not being quite good enough, Ajax first team, Dutch first team. And it happened that quickly for Wesley Sneijder, but he wasn't the one. And there's other players like that. Ashley Young was released from Watford but wanted to stay and train. And then look at the career that he's had. And then I remember there's a mate of mine, he was playing for Luton against Watford, which was a derby. And he said he was skinny. He was up and down in the tunnel, but just saying, I want it today, and talking to himself like he's got that sort of mentality as well. So it is a lot mental, because by the time you get to any decent academy at 18, everyone's talented. Everyone can play football. They can trap the ball technically. They're quick. But it's the guys who, they come up against a little bit of friction and they want to move teams. They want to go and move because the grass is greener, and it's never greener. You just have to work harder. It never gets easier is the phrase. We just get stronger. And I don't think enough players have that mentality when they're trying to actually, establish themselves as a professional.
Yeah, I think what you said and Tiago said as well. If you're the best under 15, it's a whole different world to under 18.
Yeah, 100%.
It doesn't matter. It just keeps going up.
You might have a bad generation.
Yeah.
That's the thing. It might
Yes.
be a poor year group and you're the best one, and they've got to take two to fill a spot and stuff like that. Well, you might be in a very, very good generation. You get released, but you've got all the tools for someone else.
Of course, that's very important on the youth level, but doesn't mean that if you are a national team, you're going to be a pro. So on my age, my generation, the guys who was under the national team, only a few made to the professional, made a career. I wasn't on the national team, but I made a good career.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
It's like a curse sometimes if you get called up too young for the national teams. Because we've got a couple of boys who played England under 15.
No, that goes exactly with what I'm saying, because sometimes, they've had an easy path, and as soon as they come up against resistance, they're done because they're not used to it. They don't have it in their capacity to do it.
But can we do something about that? Can we teach them attitude? Can we teach them
But
grit?
regarding the stickability, obviously, I think 20 years ago, the players had more balls, as you can say, or more attitude. The recent move of Mikhailo Mudryk, this guy, Ukrainian guy, I read an article about him today. And now he's maybe one of the most talented, maybe top 5, top 10 most talented prospects in the world. But his way wasn't easy, and until the summer of 2021, he wasn't getting any playing time. So he was on loan here, on loan there. He was getting like around 38 or 58 minutes in half of the season. And then 2021, Roberto De Zerbi comes to Shakhtar Donetsk. He trusts him, and the rest is history. The Champions League against Real Madrid, the qualifier. So this guy kept working.
Stickability. We keep talking about stickability.
And people were making fun of him because he was because it's a new generation. He's 22 years old, and he was making YouTube videos of skills. And everyone was saying, look at this guy. He just cares about his look, about YouTube videos. And now 100 million in Arsenal.
That's football. Football is not a simple math.
Yeah.
And some players, they do the wrong things, but in one day, it's one guy on the stands watching him, believe on him, and his life changed. You need to be ready always. Doesn't matter if you play in the first team, second team, is always someone watching you. And maybe that guy is like a good making decision guy, and he can offer you a contract,
But like you said, even now you can tell you're quite a cool guy. You take things in your stride. When you were young, did someone give you a bit of advice about attitude that changed you, or were you just always with this attitude? Or?
Look, I always believe in myself. Where
does that come from? Parenting, you think?
Parenting, and like in Brazil, you need to be, always looking at your shoulders, because you can't trust anyone, And when you wake up, you go to the street, you need to survive, And yeah, my dad was tough on me, and I grow up, and then on the young age, I knew what I want to my life, and then I go after my dream, and I become tough, and it wasn't always easy, I trained in Flamengo before Botafogo. They say, Tiago, you are in the same level as my players. I don't take you now. So I went to Botafogo. The guys who were in Flamengo, better than me, they never become a pro. After a couple of years, they come on trial in Botafogo. That's how life goes.
Yes.
And one thing you ask me and I say, I believe in myself. You have to believe in yourself. When I was the U16 in Botafogo, the coach always invited ex-pro, to come and talk to the kids, to advise us. And everyone, all the ex-players, ex-pro players, they say the same thing. Listen, you guys have to do your best, training hard, but also school is important. Because from this team here, like 30 kids, if one make, it's good. If one kid here from this team become a pro, it's very good. And then I was looking to my friends, my teammates, I say, guys, you are, because I'm the only one who I used to joke every time, only one. And I say, guys, that's me. It's your problem now. I believe in myself, and I knew I will go after my dream.
And you were right. But so just to finish on that. So if you could give a young 16-year-old Tiago advice now, what would you give him?
Training hard and believe in yourself.
The same thing.
Because
same
you
message.
cannot go wrong with that,
True.
Be humble, respect, discipline, listen to your coaches, and believe in yourself, because maybe you are not good enough for one coach, which is very normal in football,
Yeah.
Not everyone likes blue or black or red, You are not good to one coach. Some coach will like you, but you need to work hard and deserve that.
Excellent.
Yeah, listen, I think that you said something that I want to probably touch on and go a little bit deeper on. I think that there's a lot of lifestyle footballers, but do they really want it? That's my question. Why do you want to be a footballer? Why? Because there's certain times when I've offered, guys who are in a situation in maybe a championship and they're not playing. I'm working on behalf of a club to get them out on loan, and then it's not quite good enough. They don't want to go here. They don't want to go there. And I'm thinking, do they really want to be a footballer? Because what was the dream for my younger brother? He's played as a professional over a decade in Scandinavia, and the dream was to wake up every day, to be paid to train, name on the back of the shirt, and play football. That was the dream. And obviously he's achieved a lot, and he's going to be a fantastic coach as well. But that's the question that I'll say to a lot of the players. Why do you want to be a player? And then when you're offered the opportunities, are you taking them? Because there's a lot of players who say they want to be a pro, but then you offer them a situation which is going to get them there, and they don't want to come out of their comfort zone as well. So having clarity in what you wanted as a young player is really important. I think we spoke the other day, and I said what was the ambitions, because obviously Tiago played European football, played in UEFA Cup as it was then as well, and obviously achieved a lot as well. And just having clarity in that from a early time, and then a lot more guys can actually have that satisfaction, because you get a lot of boys that come from big situations, and they always feel like
how much do they want it? We know that, we know that. But I think to pick up on that point, because we have a lot of conversations with players, me and you, and I say, okay, what's the dream? I want to be a professional football player. No problem. Where? Europe. Always. Okay, great. What's the plan? Nothing.
Yeah, always.
They think that just being a good football player is the plan. No. And you've got to have strategy where Rush comes in.
Sacrifice. You need to sacrifice a lot.
But I'm saying also like programs, like Rush or coaches that have pathways.
Yeah.
So many of them just really believe I'm going to get scouted. They have this delusion. I mean, even in your generation, how did you get scouted? If you can pick it up, how did they spot you to take you to? What did you say you went at?
Barcelona.
No, before Barcelona.
Botafogo, yeah.
No, after Botafogo. Perugia, to Italy.
So on that time, I played already on the Serie A in Brazil.
Yes.
So people,
in the first team.
In the first team. People watching me, and they knew it. My dad has Italian citizenship, so I could get the Italian passport. So they identified me, and then they offered me a contract.
Okay. What would you say a plan today for young?
And obviously, I have my agent.
Yeah.
My agent behind. He was working behind the scenes and making the contacts.
Yeah, the power of a good agent, we know.
Yeah.
We tell Ryan always.
Get games in for any player. They've got to be as best as they can locally, and if that door closes, then they've got to go outside. It's really that simple, Climb as high as you can locally. Get some games as a professional, and just listen for a lot of the players. If you want it, you find a way. So for a lot of the players, they have to go and get their footage and do everything seriously as well. And if they really want it, they've got to go and dedicate time and put their all into it.
I think we talk about that with each other. We say the first 10 games are critical in a player's career. The first 10 professional games. You said the opportunity came, the older player got injured, you went on. What was your mentality when you stepped on? Like, what do I have to do now? This is my chance or never? Is
That's
it like
my
this?
chance.
Yeah, this is my chance.
That's my chance.
But as
I need to prove, because I was a good prospect. So I was the captain of all the categories, all the age. So people from Botafogo, they knew me, but it's not easy to play in front of a big crowd. So, and then, but on that time, I just want to step on the field. You know, it's a dream of every single kid playing Maracanã. You know, I want, first of things, I want to be I want to make my parents proud of me.
Of course.
Give them the opportunity to watch their kid in Maracanã. You know, I knew they will be the happiest parents in the world.
Even one game will do.
You know, it's not about the money. It's nothing. You know,
Yes,
because the money don't pay that feeling.
Of course.
You know.
But as a defender, you're playing as a central defender.
Yeah.
You're a prospect. You're captain. Everybody knows you're good. How do you, attitude-wise, perform without making a mistake when you're a defender?
Yeah. So
That's
but
high pressure.
It's high pressure, but can
Motivate you.
or if you are under a lot of pressure, you can
Make a mistake.
make mistakes.
Yeah.
I was, as I said before, I was confident and I knew I will perform well. And if
Just calmness, basically. Inner calmness. You knew.
Exactly. And if things go into the wrong way, you keep going.
Yeah. Attitude again. Same.
Attitude, exactly.
Because we are inside football, I cannot not to ask a question from the career of Tiago. So the question will be, what are the top 3 players you played with and one characteristic that made them outstanding in your opinion?
Man.
We give you a while, huh?
Yeah,
18
so
years playing.
I played with a lot of good legends, you know, with and against. But if I have to nominate 3 that I played with, obviously Messi.
Mm-hmm. And
Yeah.
what was the outstanding part in him?
Do I need to tell something about Messi?
From your point of view.
Nah, man, he unbelievable player, you know, technique, change the speed, you know, change the directions, and he's Messi.
Yeah.
And the other one, Del Piero, a legend. I played against and with him. Much better play with him.
As a defender, especially.
defender.
How do you defend the fox like Del Piero?
Man, yeah. Lucky that when I played against him, no, because I played first time it was Young Boys Bern against Juventus. He was on his prime. It was hard. And then we play against each other in Australia.
Yeah. He was a bit older.
Yeah, but
Still.
And then we play together. So.
What's his characteristic, would you say, Del Piero? I mean, Messi, we knew skill. If you asked me, I'd say he's out of the box, Messi. You don't know what he's going to do.
Exactly.
But Del Piero?
Very talented. Right foot, left. Skills, finishing, you know, different touches.
He has the set.
The ball, you play a bad ball, he
Takes it.
and make people think it was a good ball because he makes the game easier.
Wow.
Yeah, and finishing with left, right, it's unbelievable. And a gentleman off the field.
And who is the third?
Man, then you put me in a bad spot, but like, I play with Emil Heskey, you know, in Australia, in Newcastle. You as a Liverpool fan, you know, he was a beast. Couple players in Brazil, you know, one guy named Dodô. He's well known for only score beautiful goals. You know, that's how people call him in Brazil. He was different class.
Left-footed player?
No, right foot.
Okay.
Have you noticed he picked all strikers? The defender picked all strikers.
Yeah, if you're talking about the best.
For you as a defender, obviously you're a big football fan. I hope you're still watching the games of other teams, which there's no doubt. The game has changed a lot. The way that the speed of the game. For you, from your professional point of view as a defender, how defenders changed, how their game changed, how their preparation changed.
So now, like the defenders, they must be quick. Speed is the speed of the game. Teams, they like to press high, so you leave a lot of space at the back. You need to be quick. Players pressing you all the time. You need to think quick, take decision makings in all short seconds. You need to think quick and perform quick. Do the actions quick.
Speed of mind, speed of feet.
Exactly.
I think also nowadays the defenders are kind of playmakers.
As well, the goalkeepers,
Even the goalkeepers now.
The goalkeepers, they need to play with the foot.
For you, from the current defenders that are playing, who are the top 3 best defenders right now?
Van Dijk, Thiago Silva still, he played very well the World Cup. And for me, the youngest one that played a very good World Cup is the left center-back from Croatia.
Joško Gvardiol.
He is very good. A part of that
Messi. But
but
you played against him,
No, I'm very confident that he will make the next level. Like he's playing for Leipzig.
Mm-hmm.
I believe very soon he will go to a bigger club.
Okay, just to go off a bit, now you're working for Rush. Rush is going to be hopefully, he's our partner moving forward. We're very excited about the project. Tell us a bit about that.
So Rush Soccer is the biggest youth soccer organization in the world. Seems a bit arrogant, but in terms of numbers, it is what it is. We have 45,000 kids. We are in 41 states from 50 in the United States. We are in 51 countries. And we want to give players the opportunities through football to have a better life. The beauty and the difference for the Rush Soccer is it's not only the best players that can become a pro. If they are not good enough to become a pro, they have the college way. So they still play in college, but they will have a degree. The worst case scenario, they will have a degree. They can have a scholarship, finish 4 years college, and have a job, a diploma. And for the very talented and with the right mentality, become a pro, we have our pathways. Now with you guys as well. So we give opportunities to our players and coaches as well.
Yeah, that's interesting. Those of that know us, I'm very highly selective who we partner with. When I spoke to Tiago the first time and I said, okay, what's the it? Giving people a chance. And people say that and say it's cliche. It's not cliche. It's a very rare thing in football. Going back to my point about players without a plan. Me and Ryan talked to a lot of players from across the world. This is a good plan, I assume, right?
Yeah, it's amazing. So through Jorge, we had the initial conversations with Tiago. I was aware of Rush on a very, very surface level, but looking a lot deeper, they do a lot for their communities, for their teams, for their players. So it's a really, really good fit working with us as well. And I think that listen, everyone's got to be honest. So maybe you really enjoy football and you're quite good at 18. Maybe it's not going to go further and you go to college and get a career and work in football, become an analyst, become a scout. There's the industry of football is very, very big.
Be an agent.
Yeah, be an agent. Maybe.
You were an ex-player, right? So you can be an agent.
No, listen, I saw the opportunity to be an agent really early. It was one of the best decisions that I made in my life because I enjoyed everyone could play as a kid as well, but to actually go and be a professional, you've got to be very honest with the level that you're actually going to achieve. And this is what Tiago and Danny have done is the 1%, less than the 1%. So it's a really, really good strategy, to put your all in, but to be very clever with it and to actually start to have skills outside of just being a footballer, having that in your locker and being in a group where, eventually you are going to stop playing football and there's got to be access for other countries, and being part of a group like Russia is amazing for players as well. One thing that we need to touch on is the football world is bigger now. It's growing in places like South Korea. It's growing here in the UAE. Football is the biggest sport and it's only getting bigger.
Yeah.
So for players, there's so many opportunities to go out to other countries and to be a professional player, but also to work in other countries. Maybe you can go, you can make a life for yourself in Asia as well. You can become a pundit. It's so big. So if you're open-minded and you have a plan and the right people who've got the right connections, then you can make a career in football for sure.
Yeah, there's a couple of points I want to pick up on. and me and Amir talk about this. We get a lot of messages, emails saying, I'm a talented footballer, no one helps me. I'm a talented player, no one helps me. First and foremost, in this modern world, no one's going to help you if you don't help yourself.
Exactly.
So find a program like Rush. What we're interested with Rush is globally collecting talented players with the aim of, let me give you a chance. Then if the player is good, he's coming to the US. From the US, he's coming to us. He's coming to your clubs in Europe. We're looking at clubs in Europe. So there is people out there like us that can help you. But you've got to find people like this. You can't just sit in your country in South Sudan or wherever you are in the world and say, no one is here to help me.
Exactly.
And I think this is very important, right?
Yeah, I totally agree. I think this lesson was super valuable and super interesting as well. This is proper inside football, in my opinion. And just to finish on a bit less formal note, for all of us, a little quiz. Top 3 players, because we have a guest from Brazil, top 3 players, Brazilian players, in your opinion, one by one. Starting with Tiago.
Pelé counts.
Yes, of course.
Yes.
Pelé.
Yeah, the legend.
Yeah. Pelé. 3 is not enough.
You can give you 300 for Brazil.
Do you know, I'm going to go a different route.
Yeah,
Let me go 5.
Okay.
So you're a guest, we'll let you have
Yeah,
5.
Okay,
yeah.
thank you. Pelé, Romario, Ronaldo, Zico, Ronaldinho.
Fair play.
Brilliant players.
Nothing left to us.
Do you know
Let
what?
the guest go
I'm
first.
going to go for 3 players that could have been something special from Brazil. And they're 3 left footers, 3 players that I loved. I thought they had all the ability. They're 3 of my favorite players ever, but they didn't have the careers they should have had. Alex de Souza from Cruzeiro. He had his peak in Turkey, so people don't respect him, but this guy was amazing. I think 1997 Copa team. Didn't make the 98 World Cup team because he had Leonardo.
2002. He was about to go 2002.
Was he injured?
No, the Filipão didn't.
Yeah, I don't know, but for me, he was one of the best players. And there was another player who was in Vasco, Felipe. And I don't
left
know.
foot.
This guy was he's like Tiago Calvano, but he was like a magician with the ball. This guy, I would have picked Zalmina, but I'm gonna go for Adriano. What a player he could have been as well.
For those of you who don't know, he's an encyclopedia of football. You need to get to the
I've
mic.
studied the game. I've studied the game, but yeah, Felipe for me. I used to watch Brazilian football.
He played in Qatar.
Yeah.
He finished his career in Qatar.
Yeah.
I'm in football 40 years. I didn't know 2 of those guys.
Felipe
So
was
definitely
amazing.
encyclopedia.
Yeah, he was coming through just before, and then afterwards Diego was in Santos, and then Robinho, and then Kaká was in Sao Paulo. But this was for me a really, really good era for the domestic game in Brazil because so many talented boys were coming through, you know.
Yeah, interesting.
And obviously Thiago as well. But
Yeah.
by the time I was watching, he was already in Barcelona.
You gonna go?
I think you go. I'll be last.
I'm gonna go. I mean, look, I'll give you one from each generation. I think it's fair.
Fair play.
I grew up loving Zico. I loved Zico, of course, but I would say Socrates. Socrates, he made Zico look as good as Zico did look. Socrates was an unbelievable player. I think a doctor, right?
Doctor.
He was a doctor and a football player. Unheard of today. He was Van Dijk back before Van Dijk was even born. Classy football player, tall, on the ball. I know he played up front, but he was tall. He was composed. He never looked in a rush. It was an education to us. Socrates, look, I'm a striker. Ronaldo, the real one. Bar the injuries, nobody would have touched him, including Messi. I think this guy had literally everything. And of course, if we're gonna go and be really, really into it. Today, I would have to say Neymar is a fantastic football player. I definitely don't like his attitude, but you can't deny the talent in this guy.
Great player.
100%. Neymar has all the talent.
Yeah, and he's a good dancer as well. He's a good. I like to have a night out with Neymar.
But hey, Bobby Firmino for the record. But I don't want to be biased. Always talking about Bobby. Go ahead.
I think obviously because I was born only in 2000 and most of the Brazilian legends were back in 1998, 2002, maybe that generation. And I don't want to lie, I haven't seen the game for most of them as you guys. I wasn't as lucky. But then I'll say the players who impressed me the most, who I've seen not live, but they were in my era. Ronaldinho was one of the players that when I was just a little boy, I've seen few of his games, and back then there was no smartphones. There was only like a little Nokias, and I remember how all of us were sharing it with Bluetooth to each other, watching and trying to recreate it. So this was like a first love to football was Ronaldinho. Then Neymar, obviously Neymar. And I think it's very important people underestimate Neymar because he haven't won the World Cup with Brazil, has a different mentality. But let's not forget Ronaldo, Ronaldinho, Romario. All of them also had this party lifestyle.
Brazilians.
It just
Different times.
different times they had different team. Yeah, but this is their thing.
Yeah.
And another one, absolutely not the greatest one, maybe not even top 10, but the players who was magical for me is this guy, Coutinho.
Yeah.
In Liverpool, he was magical. Him and Eden Hazard, the Belgian player, they were creating something that someone else couldn't make, and they were like this.
Yeah. I mean, look, the main thing we can say is thank God for Brazil.
Yeah.
You know, you've given us hundreds of players. I mean, he said Ronaldinho and smiled. The man brought joy to football, really. Brazil, you know, whether you like Brazil or don't like Brazil, I know that the world's Argentina or Brazil, but the way the Brazilians have always enjoyed the Jogo Bonito is a pleasure, and it's been a pleasure having you. We look forward to partnering with you. We look forward to bringing you more back in here for more stories. Ryan, always a pleasure to have you.
Cheers, guys.
And yeah, this is it, guys. Inside Football, final episode of the season. Keep watching, keep learning. Amir.
And we will see you in the next season.
See you next season. Thank you.
Football never stops.
Thank you.